She asked if we could take her home, but when we got there, we found out she was already buried in the backyard. It was close to midnight when my girlfriend Jenna and I were driving through rural Colorado. We'd been on the road for hours, just two-lane highways surrounded by endless darkness. No cell service, no other cars, just our headlights cutting through the fog and the hum of the tires against cracked asphalt. We were halfway between nowhere and nowhere when we saw her, a woman standing on the shoulder of the road, facing away from us. She was barefoot, her long hair matted and tangled, and she was wearing what looked like a torn white dress. My first instinct was to keep driving, but Jenna gasped and grabbed my arm. "Wait, she looks hurt." I slowed down, feeling uneasy. There was something really strange about how still she stood, like she was waiting for us specifically. But the guilt of leaving someone out there in the cold got to me, so I pulled over. When I rolled down the window, she turned to face us. Her skin was pale and dirty, her lips cracked. "Please," she said softly, "can you take me home?" Her voice was just a whisper, but it was so pleading it went right through me. I glanced at Jenna and she gave me a nod. So, I unlocked the doors. The woman climbed into the back seat without saying another word. I noticed she wasn't wearing shoes, and her feet left faint muddy prints on the carpet. She just sat perfectly straight, hands folded in her lap, staring out the windshield. "What's your name?" Jenna asked gently. The woman hesitated for a moment. "Anna." "Where do you live?" I asked. She lifted a trembling hand and pointed straight ahead. "Just down this road." We drove in silence for a while. I tried making small talk, asking where she was coming from, if she needed a phone, but she didn't respond. She just kept staring out into the dark, like something out there had her full attention. The longer she stayed quiet, the heavier the air in the car felt. Even the heater couldn't shake the chill. Then Jenna leaned closer to me and whispered, "Do you hear that?" It took me a second to notice it. A faint humming sound coming from the back seat. It was low, rhythmic, almost like a lullaby. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Anna was humming softly to herself, her eyes half closed, swaying slightly with the movement of the car. "Are you okay?" Jenna asked, turning toward her. No response. Just that soft, broken melody. I started feeling this rising tension in my chest, a gut-deep sense that something was very wrong. The fog outside had thickened so much I could barely see past the headlights. Every tree started to look like a figure standing just off the road. Finally, Anna spoke. "There," she whispered. "That's my house." I slowed down. Ahead, through the mist, was an old farmhouse barely visible in the dark. No lights on, no sign of life. It looked completely abandoned. "Are you sure this is it?" I asked. She didn't answer. When I turned to look, the back seat was empty. The door hadn't opened. The seatbelt was still buckled. But she was gone. Jenna screamed, twisting around in her seat. I slammed on the brakes and jumped out, scanning the road with the flashlight on my phone. Nothing. No footprints, no movement, just the soft sound of the wind. Then Jenna's voice trembled from inside the car. "Kyle, look at the window." On the inside of the rear passenger window was a single muddy handprint, small, delicate, and it was still wet. We sat there for what felt like forever, the engine idling. Finally, I got back in and drove. Neither of us said a word until we reached the next town. We stopped at a 24-hour diner to catch our breath. The waitress noticed how shaken we looked and asked what happened. When I told her, her face went pale. "Did you say you picked up a girl named Anna?" I nodded slowly. She exchanged a look with the cook, then leaned in. "There's been a story like that around here for years. A young woman named Anna was killed on that stretch of road back in the 70s. Her car broke down late at night. Someone stopped to help her, but she never made it home. They found her body in a ditch about a mile from her house." Jenna's hand was trembling around her coffee mug. "You're saying we picked up a ghost?" The waitress just said, "A lot of people see her, she's always trying to get home." I wanted to laugh it off, but I couldn't stop thinking about that handprint. The waitress told us where the old farmhouse was, and against my better judgment, we went back the next morning. The fog had cleared, revealing broken windows, an overgrown yard, and a faded for sale sign. Out of morbid curiosity, I walked up to the porch. That's when I saw a weathered plaque nailed to the railing. A memorial. In loving memory of Anna Wilkes, 1954-1976. Jenna called out for me to come back, but I was frozen. My eyes were fixed on something in the dirt beside the porch steps, a faint trail of muddy footprints. Bare, small, and leading straight to where our car had been parked. I got in fast and locked the doors. The air felt thick again. We drove out of there without saying a word. But a few miles down the road, Jenna reached for my hand and froze. Her voice broke when she whispered, "Kyle, look." On the inside of her window, smeared faintly in brown, was another handprint. Smaller this time, fainter, but definitely there. And underneath it, traced in the condensation, were 3 letters written by a finger, H-O-M-E. That was 2 years ago. We still have that car. No amount of scrubbing has ever gotten rid of the outline of that handprint. And every winter when the glass fogs over, those same 3 letters reappear. Always in the same place. Always in the same handwriting. Always spelling home. I don't know what terrified me more. The moment I realized that truck was following us, or the moment I realized it never stopped. It all started as a simple road trip meant to clear our heads. My best friend Nate and I were driving from Pennsylvania all the way to Colorado. We were looking forward to 2 weeks of open road, bad diner coffee, and cheap motels. About 6 hours into the drive, I first noticed it. An old, rusted pickup truck in my rearview mirror. It had faded blue paint, one headlight that was noticeably dimmer than the other, and a long, deep scrape down the driver's side door, like something had clawed at it. At first, I didn't think much of it. Highways are full of all sorts of weird vehicles, right? I just figured this one was going the same direction. But hours later, as the sun began to set and the highway emptied out, I glanced in the mirror again. And there it was. The same truck, same busted headlight, same dented hood. "Nate," I said, nodding toward the mirror. "That truck's been behind us since Maryland." He looked, squinting into the distance. "Probably a coincidence." "Relax," he said. I really tried to. But even after we stopped for gas in West Virginia, took a bathroom break, grabbed some snacks, the second we got back on the road, that truck appeared again. Just a couple of cars back. It never tailgated or flashed its lights. It just followed. By the second night, both of us were on edge. We pulled into a roadside diner just before midnight. The place was deserted, save for one waitress and the smell of burnt coffee. I kept glancing out the window at the parking lot. The truck had parked across the street, half hidden under a flickering streetlight. I could just make out the driver's silhouette through the windshield. He wasn't eating. He wasn't doing anything, just sitting there, watching. When we left, Nate tried to laugh it off. Man, maybe he's just driving the same route as us. But his voice didn't sound convincing anymore. Neither did mine when I said, "Yeah, maybe." We drove until 3 a.m., too afraid to stop. Every few miles, that single dim headlight gleamed in the darkness behind us. When we finally found a motel just off the interstate, we pulled in fast, hoping we'd lost him. I remember Nate saying, "Don't look back, just park and go inside." We got a room on the second floor. I tried to tell myself it was just a weird coincidence, that I was overreacting. But when I went to close the curtains, my stomach dropped. That beat-up blue truck was in the parking lot, parked right below our room. The driver's seat was empty. I told Nate, my voice shaking. He went to the window and stared down. "Maybe he's inside," he said quietly. "Or maybe he knows where we are." Neither of us slept that night. Every time a car passed, I jumped. Around 2 a.m., I swore I heard heavy footsteps outside, slow and deliberate, moving past our door, the kind of sound that makes your whole body tense up. When the sun finally came up, we crept outside. The truck was gone. Just a dark oil stain on the asphalt where it had been. We drove the next day in complete silence, both of us pretending we weren't still checking every single mirror. But that illusion shattered when we stopped for gas in Illinois. Nate went inside to pay while I pumped. That's when I heard it, the distinct rattle of a loose muffler. I turned and my heart stopped cold. The same truck pulled into the far corner of the lot. This time, the driver got out. He was tall, wearing a filthy denim jacket and a trucker cap pulled low over his eyes. His hands were black with grease. He didn't look directly at me, but I could feel his stare from beneath the brim of his cap. When Nate came back, I didn't say a word. I just got in the car and we sped off. I didn't even look to see if the truck followed. I didn't need to. I could feel it. That night in Kansas, we parked our car around the side of the motel, hoping to stay out of sight. But sometime after midnight, Nate shook me awake. "He's here," he whispered. Through a tiny slit in the curtains, I saw the faint glow of headlights pointed straight at our room. The engine was off, no movement, just that truck. I called the front desk, told them someone was loitering outside. By the time the clerk came to check, the lot was empty again. When we finally checked out the next morning, we found something tucked under our windshield wiper. A folded piece of paper, soaked from the morning dew. Written in blocky handwriting were 4 words: "See you in Colorado." We made it to Colorado 2 days later. As we pulled into the rental cabin we'd booked in the mountains, I felt my stomach twist into a knot of pure ice. In the gravel driveway, half buried under a thin layer of fresh snow, were tire tracks, 2 parallel lines that led right up to the cabin door, and then turned back toward the road. That night, Nate and I barely spoke. We locked every door, every window, and left all the lights on. I must have dozed off from exhaustion because when I opened my eyes, the room was dark. The lights were off. The wind had died down, and outside, faint but unmistakable, I heard the low rumble of an engine. I crept to the window, too afraid to even breathe. Through the trees, I saw them, 2 dim headlights glowing in the distance, not moving, just waiting. That was 3 months ago. I moved back east and sold my car. But sometimes, late at night when I'm driving home from work, I'll glance in my rearview mirror. And for a split second, I see it again. That same rusted blue truck, one headlight dimmer than the other, just far enough back that I can see who's driving. We thought we were stopping to help someone. But whatever was in those woods wasn't human, and it was waiting for us to get out of the car. It was around 11:30 at night when we first saw it. My friends and I were driving through rural Wyoming on a back road that felt like it stretched into nowhere. No gas stations, no houses, not even cell service, just empty land and a narrow strip of cracked asphalt lit by our high beams. There were 4 of us in the car, me, my girlfriend Amy, and our friends Tyler and Jess. We'd been on the road for hours, heading toward a cabin we'd rented near Yellowstone. Everyone was tired and quiet, just the low hum of the engine and the faint static of the radio filling the silence. Then Tyler said, "Do you see that?" Up ahead, maybe 100 yards away, was a car pulled off on the shoulder. Its headlights were still on, engine running. Both front doors hung wide open. At first, we thought maybe someone had broken down or hit a deer, but as we got closer, something felt off. The car wasn't wrecked. It was just there, idling quietly, like whoever had been driving simply got out and vanished. I slowed down and pulled onto the shoulder a few feet behind it. Amy immediately said, "Don't stop, just keep going." But Tyler insisted we check it out. "Come on," he said. "What if someone's hurt?" He wasn't wrong, and the guilt of driving past someone in need made me put the car in park. The moment we stepped out, the air hit me, sharp, cold, and heavy with the smell of wet earth. The crickets had gone silent. The only sound was the low rumble of the running engine in front of us. I walked closer, flashlight in hand. It was an older sedan, silver, maybe early 2000s. The driver's door was open wide, swinging slightly in the wind. The dashboard lights glowed a soft green. And the radio was on, crackling faintly through static. "Hello?" I called out. My voice sounded too loud in the still air. No answer. Amy stayed near our car, her arms wrapped around herself. Jess stood beside her, whispering something I couldn't make out. Tyler was beside me, peering into the passenger side. That's when I saw it. There was blood on the steering wheel, smudged across the center like someone had grabbed it with a cut hand. Drops of it streaked down onto the driver's seat, still wet enough to glisten in the light. "Holy shit," Tyler whispered. I leaned in, and that's when the smell hit me. Not rot, fresh blood. Metallic and thick. Amy's voice cut through the air behind us. "Guys, seriously, let's go." I was about to agree when I noticed something on the ground near the open door. Footprints. Bare ones. A trail of them pressed into the damp dirt, leading away from the car and into the field beyond the road. They were spaced unevenly, like whoever made them was running. "Someone's hurt," Tyler said. "We should follow them." I hesitated. Everything in my gut screamed, "Don't." The night felt wrong, too quiet, too still. Even the air had that eerie electric charge, the kind you feel right before something terrible happens. But Tyler had already started walking toward the field. "Wait," I hissed, grabbing his arm. "If someone's bleeding that bad, we need to call the cops, not chase them into the dark." He stopped, realizing I was right, and turned to head back. That's when we both heard it, a sound from the field. At first it was faint, a soft rustling like someone moving through the tall grass. Then came a sharp crack, like a branch snapping underfoot. Tyler raised his flashlight and shone it toward the sound. For a split second, the beam caught something pale between the trees. A shape, too tall, too still. Then it was gone. Tyler lowered the light, his face pale. "You saw that, right?" Before I could answer, the car radio suddenly blared to life, the static exploding into the quiet like a scream. Everyone jumped. I spun around and saw that the car doors had started to close, slowly, one after the other. First the passenger side, then the driver's door. By the time we reached it, both had latched shut. The headlights flickered once and went dark. The engine sputtered out. We stood there frozen, every instinct screaming at us to leave. Amy was already in our car, yelling for us to get in. I didn't need to be told twice. We sped off, gravel spitting behind the tires. The abandoned car shrinking in the rearview mirror until it disappeared into the darkness. No one said a word for a long time. The air inside the car felt suffocating, thick with tension. I tried turning on our radio to break the silence, but it only played static, just like the one in that car. About 20 minutes later, we reached a small diner on the edge of a town. We pulled in, still shaken, and told the man at the counter what we'd seen. His face drained of color. "Was it a silver sedan?" he asked. I nodded. He swallowed hard. "You're not the first to see it. Sheriff's been out there twice this month. Says every time they go, the car's gone. Then it shows up again a few nights later in a different spot. Same make, same model, same blood." Amy whispered, "You mean it's just there? Like someone's setting it up?" He shook his head. "No. They ran the plates the first time. Belonged to a couple that disappeared in 2004. Their car was found on that same road, with the engine still running." We left the diner not long after that, too unsettled to eat. The rest of the trip we avoided that stretch of highway completely. But I'll never forget the sound that came from the field that night. The low, wheezing breath that didn't belong to any human being. Sometimes when I drive late at night, I still catch the faint smell of blood when I turn on my heater. And every time I pass a car on the shoulder with its light still on, I keep driving. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've had a similar experience or know more about this legend, let me know in the comments below. Stay safe out there, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more strange tales.